Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the League of Legends Pacific Championship Series lower bracket finals. Today, we decide who we are sending to Worlds. CFO, of course, already on that trip. They've punched their ticket, seating yet undecided. But today, we will send another team between PSG Talon and Megabank Beyond Gaming. I'm your play-by-play and host for the day, Clement Chu. With me, the ever-so-handsome Nightstar. And underneath this is our sponsors here. A big shout out to our organizers at Riot Games, Carry Live, and Garena, and of course for our sponsors with CTBC Bank, always by our side, and of course our new addition here with China Airlines. You make the PCS possible. Now, Nightstar, welcome into the fray here. We have two teams that went to Worlds together in 2021, but now only one of them will move on. What are you feeling about this series? How do you feel the storylines are going to line up?
The storylines really just make themselves, right? Because these were our Worlds teams last year, and in addition, these were the two teams that competed for the MSI slot last year. So it's really old rivalries coming back into play, because when we compare these two teams during the spring split, they were nowhere close to each other. BYG were an absolute shadow of themselves because of the roster revamp. They had a lot to make up for, but then when we came into the summer split, we saw the growth. Even though they weren't great from the get-go, even at the start of summer split, at the end of summer split, they were an incredibly dangerous team. Definitely one of the dark horses, even at the 6th seed.
Absolutely, and now they actually usurp PSG to come in with the higher part of the bracket. They made it all the way to the winners finals before dropping to CFO in 4 games, and that means they will have side selection for game 1. And I actually want to talk about that a little bit, because looking at the stats, these two teams, they favor very different sides. You have PSG glued to blue, and then you have the side on Beyond Gaming that likes the red.
I do have to say, part of that would be just the fact that against both J-Team and DCG, those two teams were just heavily blue side favored. So they, even after losses, continued to just go over to blue side. As a result, BYG kept getting wins on red side. But as you can see, the playoff bracket, we are down to our top 3. And of course, top 2 make it to Worlds. So unfortunately, BYG, PSG, one of these legendary teams from last year, will not make it to the grand stage.
We will have some new faces being sent out there, especially for Shun. I think this is going to be his first time at internationals. Of course, he's a rookie this split. And for a note on our format, we do not have any regional qualifiers. We have a very long, extended playoffs. A lot of teams can join, and this is it. The finals will decide our seeding in terms of Worlds. Now, we are moving on to caster predictions. I see that you and I have both gone Beyond Gaming, but since you're in the color position, please explain your thoughts.
My thoughts? Initially, because I knew Jenny was going to pick PSG, I picked BYG just to try and close the gap against her, but then she gave me the full 360 no scope, and now, unfortunately, I am stuck on the same prediction. But I think BYG have just looked a lot more decisive. That's the main thing for me that really sold me on picking them over PSG. And PSG, on the flip side, they've been too tentative on taking fights that aren't 90-10. I kind of perhaps over memed about them in their earlier series earlier this week, but it does feel that way.
And taking a look at our roster here, it's going to be Lee Kai in the top side, Husha, Minji in the mid jungle, and then you have Wako Kino in the bottom lane. As you said, this team has just come out swinging. They're so surprising. The regular season was really not much to write home about, but when it came into the postseason, personally for me, it's just the number of champions that they suddenly unleashed across the board, and we can get into that in the ban phase. First, take a look at PSG Talon. It's your old faces, Hanabi and then Buri Gori coming in this split. And of course, Unified and Kaiwing, the old faithful in the bottom.
And for the PSG Talon fans, really it's just all about the performance of Gori, the MVP of Summer Split, just coming in and really stunning the league and hopefully able to maintain that performance coming into this series to guide them to Worlds. But a major factor, of course, has been the bot lane also stepping up. But we get to see the comparison of our mid laners. It will be a lot of focus on the mid lane, especially in the pick ban.
Yeah, we have talked about there are certain champions that neither side plays. The Talia most likely banned from PSG and the Azir most likely banned from Minji. Taking a look at the stats here, even though Minji picked up a lot of new toys in the postseason, Orianna, the LeBlanc, Kali, the Vex even coming back, his laning phase is still not much to write home about. That has been kind of the biggest problem for Beyond Gaming, and especially in their split series against CFO, is that they do tend to have very, very slow starts, and they're going up against a team like PSG and Gori that also like to play slow. Where do you think the series is going to end up tempo-wise?
I think if one team was to pick up the tempo, it would be the side of BYG. When you look at their game timers, they are much quicker at being able to finish out the game, and part of that just comes down to decisiveness once they do get these advantages. If it's PSG, you will see a much slower game, but if it does get sped up a bit, I think a lot of it will come down to how fast that first dragon does go down, as we are almost done with that first phase, and we sort of expected these bans, but one ban that is missing is of course the Talia and the Sylas.
Yep, there we go. So Beyond Gaming have a big question here. They do play flex on the Sylas. It can go towards Likai and it can go towards Minji, which also tends to be a counter against the Gnar here. So already Beyond Gaming off to quite an interesting start, and letting PSG decide whether they want the Sivir or the Zeri. That seems to be just the go-to options here. And we were talking about this pregame. Both of us kind of felt like PSG would actually like the Zeri a little bit more.
Yeah, the Zeri feels more up their wheelhouse, being able to have Unified really peel for himself. His performance this split, while has ramped up, he hasn't performed up to his own standards, as PSG go ahead, lock in the Sivir Wukong, and Wukong also another one of those picks that we expect to see heavy priority on because of how much team fight both of these teams do like to play with, and Wukong a perfect champion to fit that mold.
Beyond Gaming going to go for the Sejuani and the Zeri. Not a whole lot of surprises there. The Sej could definitely go into the jungle, who's already showed that before. For PSG side, they are looking at perhaps going with the Renekton. Yep, that one is locked in. Hanabi has a pretty small pool, and we were talking that Renekton might be the most important champion for him in so far the patch. What do you feel about PSG playing with this rundown? It looks like they're going on a different track than they usually prefer.
Yeah, this definitely feels more of a tempo-ish style with the Renekton, with the Wukong. A lot of early team fight. Maybe as the game goes on, it does become a little bit harder for them to execute around those conditions, especially against champions like a Sylas and Sejuani, who can really stick onto you and turn the tables. And just outscale, of course. As we go into the second phase, looking at these 280 carries, we'll see what kind of supports end up pairing up with them. If it ends up being melees, of course, we know Kino and Kaiwing are perhaps our most skilled melee support players, and that will be a very exciting matchup to keep track of.
Do have the Alistar off the table, good counter against the Sivir, and then we have the Aatrox being banned away against Likai. I think Aatrox has been a bit of a sore point for PSG in these playoffs. And then the LeBlanc ban against Gori. Wow, going way back into the tempo corner just to shut that one out. Now PSG have to pick up a support and a mid laner in what looks like a tempo rushdown type of composition here. Do expect, like, the Leona seems very nice here, as both of these players do play a lot of it. And it's going to be a Galio, the first one, I believe. Yeah, the first one for Gory in the postseason.
First postseason Galio locked in. It still could go into the support role if they do pick something up like a melee champion. I can definitely imagine that to be the case, but as things stand, those look like it's going to be going into the mid lane. And okay,
yeah,
the Fiora does get locked in. This was a pick that we also highlighted off stream, of course, that it would be a sore point for PSG because Hanabi's champ pool just doesn't have an answer or a clear answer to the Fiora, at least in and out of lane. And Renekton, while can keep the Fiora down during the early phase, will struggle as the game progresses.
Do have the final lock-in for Beyond Gaming. It is going to be the Rakan. I love this Rakan. You know, it's great counter engage, take away from PSG as well. The Rakan in PSG's comp look very strong. Now Kaiwing has to pick his support here. Covering the Leona. Most played for Kino in this postseason, and career-wise, Kaiwing's best champion. Both of these players very familiar with the Leona mechanics coming in here. And we have the lock-in for Beyond Gaming.
Okay.
Looks a bit like a 1-3-1, correct me if I'm wrong there. And for PSG, this is a quintessential rundown composition.
Yeah, very much a wombo setup for the side of PSG. You have very strong level 6 setup with Dominus, with the hero's entrance on top of the Cyclone and the extra move speed coming in from On the Hunt. So this is very much we hit 6 and we just try and team fight as much as possible. Whereas on the flip side, BYG have a lot more flexibility in how they execute around these fights. They, even though Lee Kai may want to come down for these fights, that is the one concern I do have. It's just make sure Lee Kai understands that he can just continue pushing in that top side, that he can generate side lane pressure without having to come down non-stop. That was definitely one of the sore points in the CFO series, where he just overcommitted to team fighting on these side lane champions.
We definitely saw that happen a couple of times in Lee Kai's career. Looking at these compositions, I do want to go over some of the time frames that we're looking at, because you know, we think about the Fiora, we think about the Sylas. That seems to trend for very much a late game comp. Well, in PSG, going for a little bit more early mid, and I want to ask you how you feel these fit the respective teams, because it almost feels like a flip of the table here.
Yeah, it definitely feels very contrary to what PSG typically want to do. A lot of their game wins are coming around that 35-36 minute point. So it is definitely outside of that window that this composition really lines up for. But it does offer a lot of playmaking tools, and perhaps that is one way for them to really force themselves out of that very slow fight-taking mentality.
I do want to see how Bury can act as an anchor in this game for that Galio. This is a composition that we just haven't seen much of from PSG. Taking a look here at the summoners across the board, we're going to get a grasp in the top lane for the Fiora, and the rest of it pretty standard overall. We do have Gory with the spellbook this time around.
And the big thing for BYG is that they've really made it a focal point of their team to just constantly focus on keeping track of the enemy jungler, and that really enables them to do what they do on the map. A lot of the times they're playing super far forward in lane, and that's just because of the fact that they know where the jungler is. And even then, they sort of take the mentality of, hey, you can only gank one of these lanes, so if we push up in all of them, we're going to get more advantages than we lose because one lane does get ganked.
And just like you mentioned, we do have a deep ward early on into PSG jungle. They're going to spot out Bury now as he transitions in towards the top side. Even though the observer didn't show it, I'm pretty sure that Bury was definitely spotted right there. Oh, actually, the question mark things go down, but I still think they know that that is happening. I mean, in the meantime, Beyond Gaming going to be heading towards the top lane. We definitely have seen a couple games where Husha tries to get Lee Kai onto a good path early.
Yeah, and
Lee Kai getting some
Husha,
good
he
work.
is already coming out with a great level 1. Of course, Hanabi doesn't have any CC to try and trade back against Lee Kai and the level disadvantage, at least at level 1 and a little bit at level 2, especially with the level differential. And this game for PSG will be really key on Gory being able to find his way out of lane, or, I mean, I suppose just take the 1v1 trades against Minji.
Yeah, I'm looking at the HP bars there, and Minji is already... he just went up to a 500 HP deficit just a moment ago. Gets level 3 and is back, and now Gory might be in a little bit of trouble for ganks, but he almost feels like he sniffs something is off here. Minji trying to get in position for those abducts. Goes behind the minion line, is going to find the stun. Gory actually charges back in, and in goes the stun. Winter's Wrath does land. Can Gory get out? It's one more auto attack. Bury with the red buff coming in though against Minji. No, it's not enough to save, but they do trade back, and now Husha is left with 1v2. That's going to be a big win for PSG.
Actually, a massive win for the side of PSG, who are the first ones to respond to that skirmish instance, able to pull their support into the play, and that allows them to trade out 2 for 1. Big win there for the side of PSG, especially accounting for the fact that Gory did get one of those kills, whereas on the flip side, it was Husha who claimed the kill. It was really nice execution here, but right when they go in for the play, you can see Kaiwing immediately just runs straight up. So, you know that he will arrive faster because of the inside track he has over Kino.
Really well done. Great positioning by Gory as well, just to survive on a sliver of HP and drag that fight out into his favor. So, PSG right now, we're looking at an accelerated bot lane. Minji going in for a little bit more trading. Husha come back in, but not much they can do as Gory is able to just trounce back underneath his tower. And this should put a bit of pressure on Hanabi here. Let's see how PSG decides to react to this one. So far in the top lane, Lee Kai's actually been having a pretty good time here against the Croc. Talking about that level 1. Great use of the bone plating. And let's see as Husha and Bury fight each other across the jungle here. Kino gonna get spotted as he moves up towards the top side. So
yeah, the big thing was that PSG, with that skirmish, they really asserted a pretty solid line of vision down in that bottom side. So that's going to keep Unified pretty safe and secure, and that additional knowledge also means that, hey, we can gander a guess that Husha's probably going to be spending more time topside because of the vision we already set up.
We have some great vision being placed here by the Wukong here. We see the pink ward over into the Raptor, so top lane very much secure, even with Husha's presence right there. And now we have the patented Kaiwing roam, the level 4 roam early here, potentially trying to go for the scuttle. This is very interesting and unmatched by the side of Beyond Gaming. Let's see if Kaiwing is going to make this one successful, but he's going to get spotted out very early on. Kaiwing knows this as well, and wow, that is the Infernal Drake open. Let's see if Beyond Gaming decides to react to this one or not.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pings coming down from the side of PSG. I understand, hey, maybe there will be a late blue buff invade because of the fact we did show topside. Now, we'll see what kind of trap does get set up. It does look like they'll give up that knowledge, and we could see yet another scuffle around this blue buff.
Kaiwing trying to act as bait here. Minji goes forward, but they know they're in a 3v2. Rakan just rounds the corner, so make that a 4-man. Beyond Gaming do get the 2v1 push in the bot lane, so they now have control over the river right here. Let's see if Minji tries to get something done with that stolen solar flare.
Maybe a little bit impatient with the timing there. Coming in from Minji, as looks like both of these junglers will be in the vicinity and will most likely see some sort of interaction bot lane, whether it is just resetting the wave or we try and set up for a possible 3v3 fight.
Yeah, I really want to see some action happen already. It's a 3 kills, not too slow of a game, but so far only just one scuffle. And we have both of them positioning for the Infernal Drake, a very important Drake early on. And as we've seen, Minji's just been taking a beating constantly here in this mid lane. Definitely a very familiar sight if you know Minji at all. Husha coming in with the level 6. Bury has not had time to get his ultimate just yet, but they are still going to escort the two of them away now. Gory going a little bit low. Bury, the Ignite goes down. They find the first kill. And because of that level difference, Beyond Gaming find a big win and move straight towards Herald.
And Husha just has ever so slight EXP advantage in that case. He's the one with the level 6. On the flip side, Bury just a bit behind. So that missing EXP makes that much of a difference in that play. It won't actually result in the Herald, but it will result in the smaller crab going into their hands. And now Husha, I mean, he went back and got an early Lucidity boost, so he's got a lot of playmaking potential here with that extra cooldown reduction on his ultimate. So now we're looking for PSG to make a big wombo play because they do have a lot of those team fight ults online now.
And this feels like such a familiar temple that we've seen from PSG. They drop a kill, and then on the reset, they go straight for Herald. This is the most PSG thing that we've seen so far. In the meantime, Beyond Gaming are going to trade back a Drake, so not all is lost. And because of the pressure there, we do see that bot lane, Unified, is ceding his lane over to the likes of Wako. No action going to be happening so far, and I do want to get your opinion on this trade in the objectives.
I think for PSG, it makes sense to try and accelerate the gold perspective, but the issue is you do give up the Inferno Dragon. So I think this is much more favorable for the side of BYG, given the fact that early dragons are just much stronger, and just the fact that you get a combat Drake, especially with Ocean coming around, it could just be a Cloud Soul, and that would mean you get the one combat dragon of the available Drakes.
That just feels kind of bad right there. Bury with a successful handoff here, and we're looking at where this Herald is going to drop. Kaiwing has been hovering around this lane so far, and throughout this entire game, we have seen Gory been able to control this mid lane, giving Kaiwing kind of that freedom of navigation here in the river. And let's see, Kaiwing going in, trying to find something against Kino, who doesn't have his ultimate right here. It's going to send Kaiwing off on the long way. Nice cheeky play, back and forth. But it doesn't look like it's going to amount to much. Maybe the Herald being dropped to the bottom here, as Gory still has his flash and is trying to keep a little bit safe. He dodges out on the abduct, not going to get away from the Winter's Wrath. The Permafrost does go down, and there goes the ultimate. Zanya comes in. Can Gory survive? He still has his flash. He charges back in. Minji will pick him up with the Kingslayer, though. PSG looking for revenge.
Kaiwing can get in range for the ultimate.
Bury still looking for it, but no, he's going to turn around afterwards. I believe his Cyclone, his clone cooldown was already expended there. Isn't able to close the distance. And that's actually Minji up with 2 takedowns already.
Very surprising. But for the side of BYG, they've really executed well around it. They've been able to force these ganks into the mid lane. And it will be both crowns now completed in that mid lane. And we've yet to see that big wombo play come out from PSG. Right? It's level 8 already onto Gory, so he's had a lot of time to try and use this Gallia ultimate, and so far, nothing has come of it. So, this draft from PSG, like, this is what this draft is all about. You have to make that early play, and so far, it's been BYG that have dictated the pace of the game.
I do want to talk to you about time frames. when do you see PSG starting to succumb to the 131 and the Fiora and the Silas scaling maybe? Like how many item spikes can they go on before Beyond Gaming really starts to hit their stride?
For PSG, it's really about the 2 items. After 2 items, you really fall into a sinkhole because then the Fiora just gets way too far out of control. And then the Zeri is just going to be hopping around. When she gets that 3rd item, it's almost game over because then you have the IE completed. The shock lasers are going to do way too much damage to you. And then PSG, of course, your Renekton has slowed down. Your Galio is sort of capped at 2 items as well here. So then it's all on the back of Unify.
Wako might
Wako,
be
he is
thinking about face
tempting
checking.
fate.
Yeah, he's not going to go all the way there. You know, I'm getting a lot of PTSD from the earlier match I watched today in the LCS, but our AD carries are...
Is that you?
No, I hope not, but it seems fine right there. I was rooting for my homeboy Maple. To be honest, not his best series, but you know, you still gotta hang in there. PSG in the meantime, they do overtake the gold lead after that 4-man play. Drop the Herald, got 4 plates, especially onto the Sivir, which does actually leapfrog her in terms of the item. Now with the first Mythic here, and we have on the map in 40 seconds the both the Herald and the Ocean Soul coming up. Yeah. So actually a very strong timing push for the side of PSG. But as I say that, Wako also manages to get his first Mythic and is now on board.
Yeah, the first item I would say favors Unify just a little bit more because he has that extra half item. And this fight will be incredibly important for them, right? Because for PSG, they really want to get something out of this composition. It's about this Wombo. For BYG, I really think that if they're able to effectively stall this dragon, they can immediately just turn their attention and get themselves the Rift Herald, which I think is much more beneficial for them in this case.
All right, looks like both teams are going to contest for this one. Hushak going in first and getting a little bit of damage onto Kaiwing. Beyond Gaming actually doing a good job at clearing out these wards. It's a 5v5 situation with Hanabi waiting on the wings. He's spotted right now. The Husha is not going to give up his ground. They actually get a nice Ultra Shock laser through the wall to go through here. Both teams are still contesting heavily for this spot. I want to see that Wombo combo happen. Now we're looking at Bury, we're looking at Kaiwing. Those are the guys that can go in and give Gory that anchor point. We also have the Ghost there for Gory, so all prepped up for this big team fight. The tension is mounting, but so far neither side is ready to strike just yet. Ooh, but now they see the Fiora going on the other side. This could be toasting though. Oh, PSG's still gonna play around. Neither side really inching towards that trick at all. This is oh boy, this is making me sweat.
Well, now there's also a Rift Herald up and available, so I think BYG, they're okay with either situation. And for PSG, it's about them actually pulling the trigger. They need to force the issue, and this is sort of one of the criticisms we've had of them just this playoff series, or not this particular playoff series, but this playoff season, that they've been very unwilling to just go. And at a certain point with this composition, you just have to go.
Exactly. Like with this comp, you can't just take objectives. You actually need to win big. And Kaiwing goes in for a face check right here. Likai's going to make his way over. And PSG actually walk themselves into Beyond Gaming's composition. Let's see if Bury can get in. He gets a 2-man knock-up. Galio's in, but the Wombo combo doesn't find any crowd control. And now Hanabi doesn't have the dominance. So if we're looking across the ultimates right here, it's going to be Beyond Gaming that still has 3 ultimates up. And they're going to leverage that for positioning.
See what they actually do with this as they are approaching it sort of slow as Fiora goes back into the bottom lane. I really do think that they should just look to trade for Herald in this instance because the extra money will be so beneficial to accelerate that 1-3-1 potential here for the side of BYG. And yeah, it looks like Beyond Gaming, they'll go ahead, go for the resets. PSG, they'll get themselves this Ocean Dragon.
Oh, does seem
And
like you called it. They're heading straight for Herald.
yeah, and a lot of will be said with what this Dragon Rift will be. That will set the tempo. Is this going to be Cloud? There we go.
Ah, it's
So
Cloud.
the one stat dragon that comes into play is that one Inferno, and that will make a big difference for the side of BYG, because if this was a stat dragon, then PSG would have the opportunity to really throw a wrench into the plan, because it forces BYG to start contesting these dragons. However, now they're kind of okay with letting the second or even third one go into the hands of PSG.
And that's absolutely massive, because we were talking about Wombo Combo, and if you don't go near objectives as a 5-man, well, there's not really much to Wombo Combo against. Like, you're just not going to fall into that trap of giving over multiple kills to PSG. So, you know, there's a very real potential that Beyond Gaming can play this 1-3-1 at a very leisurely pace from this point onwards.
Yeah, and PSG, they need to strong arm some sort of play. Because it's 18 minutes and we haven't seen a play created by themselves, right? Because the 2 kills that happened was because BYG pulled off a play and PSG responded very well, and it was a good response, but it wasn't something that they came up with and forced upon BYG. So, and the tempo of the game so far is just all about what Beyond Gaming are doing rather than what PSG should be doing with this composition.
Oh, and this is definitely a worry I had with this draft coming in here, as PSG not really known for playing this type of comp. Just had a gander at the gold draft there. It is going to be Zeri with the most gold actually on the map. Very interesting about that, considering we saw 4 plates go over to Unified, but Wako still comes out ahead in terms of both the farm and the overall gold.
Yeah, and part of that has also been PSG just trying to roam Kaiwing around the map.
True.
Trying to force a play. And right now, PSG, they're pulled apart. They're set up in this 1-3-1, but because they're set up in the 1-3-1, that's actually detrimental to them, because of the fact Gory now cannot make these side lane plays, because the only thing available to him is to try and help out mid lane. He's not going to be able to gank down in this bottom lane, which is what you would like to see when you have one of these semi-global ultimates.
Yeah, Husha pushing forward here. You know the Renekton's not there, and Husha's willing to go in really far. Pops the crown of the Shatter Queen. Just being a nuisance
just been
here.
playing so well this playoffs.
He has my vote as the best jungler in the PCS. I'm not sure if he wins it overall, but he has in my heart.
Yeah, I agree with you, because of how much he helps out his lanes and how well he understands his role. And it's a very difficult role, right? Because BYG, we're still our 6th seeded team, and a lot of their wins came off the back of Husha being able to stabilize these fairly weak solo laners and then get them to that team fighting stage where they can shine. And we're just having this really weird staring contest. I don't know what to make of it.
I actually think this is pretty smart from Husha, because he did grab an early Warmogs. So he's able to harass, get some HP, and then he walks all of it off instantly.
Yeah.
So, very.
I mean, it's
very
really
fun
smart
build
play from Husha, and it allows him to just continue to invade non-stop. And the problem is, usually when you go for a Warmogs build, it means that you don't have the resistances to back up the extra HP. But if you look on the side of PSG, they don't have a ton of damage, right? They're not going to one-shot a Sejuani out of nowhere. And now that he has that Aegis online as well, that is more than enough at this point in the game, with his large health pool, to be able to survive the initial initiation of a fight, reset, allow the Warmogs to come in, and then he can just walk back into the fight.
And we do have the Herald drop down because of time constraints right here. Let's see if PSG are able to make a stop. Husha perhaps wanting to come in from the side, but is going to get spotted here. Hanabi has the inside track. This is a 5v4. Highwing looks to go in. Find a target, and let's see if the Herald. No, Shelly dies in route. Yeah, that's actually still fine for Beyond Gaming.
Yep.
And PSG now.
Solo.
Ooh, yeah, a lot of gold there.
That is solo gold. Yep. As PSG, they're going to be forced to
Take
start
the
this
TP
objective.
here. The TP is coming in. Fiora looking for the side flank. Already a lot of damage being done. Hanabi trying to find his way across the flank here. Murray going in as well. And Beyond Gaming actually scattering in 2 different directions. With Hanabi going low. Wako still around. And Beyond Gaming is just kind of running circles around here. The engage does not land as they go
Chase
in.
is on.
Yeah, this is a very scattered fight, but so far no one is going down.
Wako
actually goes in. He nearly goes down, but is able to kite back from all this, and he leaves Gory in no man's land. They also get a kill onto the Wukong into the bottom side. PSG now have to scatter. What a heroic move by Nazari.
Oh my god, Wako stepping up to the plate. Once again delivers for Beyond Gaming, goes over the wall by himself, puts threat onto Burry, and Gory trying to bail his jungler out. Fortunately, overextends himself, splits himself off, and BYG, it was a very scattered fight, but that's exactly what they want to do when they have a champion like Fiora, who wants these more messy fights, so then she doesn't get targeted and burst out at the start of the fight. As we get to see the replay, the teleport comes in, and PSG, they're really focused on trying to engage forward before the flank comes through, but unfortunately the engage doesn't come out fast enough, and Minji lands a fantastic heroics entrance there to really cut the fight off. And that's where things just get really, really dicey for the side of PSG, because Hanabi is now zoned off of the situation. You don't have the big Renekton damage, and at 1.5 items, he does do a lot of work in these fights. But he gets zoned off, and that's really the end of it.
Yeah, that was it felt very half-hearted from PSG. Like, if you want to play this composition and you go in, you have to go in with everything you've got. But that wasn't what PSG actually did. I think Minji really outplayed them. Actually gets out with a heroic entrance. And did you just see that damage graph? That was pretty much a 1v9 show. Wako, I think, did more damage than at least 8 members on the field there.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And now we're looking at a 4K gold lead for the side of BYG. It's also 25 minutes into the game, and this is a composition that PSG needed to get online at around the 14 to 16 minute mark, right? You had to be super aggressive around that second dragon and accelerate the pace with a second herald as well, but they get second dragon, but no second herald.
Goes down onto 3. Gory gonna come in, but not before his jungler goes down. And Fusha is still gonna hold his ground. Hanabi comes in though, and he's packing the deep as he takes down the jungle on the other side. Lika trying to find an entrance here, but there is no crowd control, and Sivir is going to walk everyone away from that one. So it does end up just being a jungle for jungle trade.
Jungle for jungle trade. So it is a neutral trade. That's going to be favorable for PSG. Trading even in that situation. But look at the difference in the gold between the junglers. It's a 70 CS gap for Husha on the Sejuani. And part of that is just because of the fact that he's constantly able to walk into PSG's jungle, steal those camps, deny extra gold away, and he's already out to 2 completed items. I've never seen such a fast jungle differential before in my life.
Yeah, that's crazy. 70 plus CS, you know, if it was in the top or the bot, maybe we've seen that, but jungle, this is a big reason why I don't really like Burry on this Wukong, because Wukong is a champion that needs to farm, and he's playing a pretty early game tempo composition, and then you add on top of that, PSG don't really strong arm in lane anymore. This is not the PSG of 2021, so it is his most played, but I just don't see it as being particularly powerful in the team setup of PSG.
Yeah, in this particular game, I think it would have made more sense to go for something like the Xin Zhao. I understand that they want to prioritize it to deny it away from Husha, but the Xin would have functioned a lot better in this instance. Being able to function on low econ may be the key in the series for PSG, at least from Burry's end, as he's just been dragged around the map trying to help his lanes while also trying not to get shoved out of his own jungle. And so far, BYG are the ones that, once more, like, this is a composition that shouldn't be able to dictate the pace until after 2 items. They've dictated the pace from the get-go, and now they're on 2.5 items, even 3 items onto the Zeri, and Zeri on 3 items does feel like it's game over.
So I guess the hard question here is, what happens if Beyond Gaming actually force a fight? Are they better off just waiting here?
I think for the side of BYG, you don't need to overforce any situation, right? Because you do have the Fiora that is now just effectively working her way up into those Nexus turrets up topside. Eventually, it will happen, and PSG, you have to go. You have a Sivir ultimate. Throw the Sivir ult and sprint at them.
All right, we'll see if Gory comes over, if they heed the voices of Dark Palpatine Lord Nightstar. But it doesn't look like it. They're actually being top lane, so we're not going to get any action here. And jeez, that is a worrying sign when Mark Wako can kind of 4-tap your jungler. They're actually just going to let this one go. So it looks like Beyond Gaming are going to get their 3-item spike. I don't see a way to stop it.
Yeah, this is deeply concerning because at the same time, right? They're throwing extra resources up into Gory, and while Gory can join with his ultimate, I feel like you need Gory in the mid lane to then also be able to threaten the top lane 2-man gank.
Yeah,
and still also be able to start engages in that mid lane to try and force the team fight. But the lane allocations is a little bit funky. Everything just seems really out of sorts for this game 1 for the side of PSG.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see if PSG can make a comeback here. I would say that PSG, for the most part, if there are still objective fights to be had, they can always find an angle to go through those. That's what they're known for. Kino going to take some love taps from the Baron. Not a huge concern here, but we are getting to the point where I don't see either of these side lanes working out anymore for PSG, and we are going to see a market level of damage difference coming out. We have Beyond Gaming with essentially 3 fully fledged carries, while PSG only have 1 committed damage dealer in Unified. So it's like it doesn't look pretty here, and I feel like the side lanes are going to get even more brazen from Beyond Gaming. As we do see some poke here and there. Husha just too damn healthy with the Moggies. It'll be okay.
And this is where the game's going to boil down to. You have a 4-item Sivir.
Yep.
It's all about the Sivir now. If Unified's able to survive and get a ton of autos without taking damage himself, then he might be able to win these fights just by himself, right? We know that's the potential of Sivir, where just 1 ricochet crit going across all 5 members and just constantly bouncing around. It's all up to RNG basically, and Unified is set up in a position where
this Baron's going down so fast. Can Burry actually make the steal here?
Too late.
He has the flash and the clone.
Oh, wait.
No, Beyond Gaming are not going to risk it 100%. That could have been a Baron throw. It definitely was a 50-50 Baron for sure. And they don't go all the way. They just pull PSG across the map right here. It is teleport expended for no summoner usage by Beyond Gaming, so looks like they're just happy with getting Hanabi to burn that TP.
But now, look, they've reset themselves into the 1-3-1 position. So,
Oh, Kaiwin going in right now. Unify
PSG,
gonna follow up
finally.
here. Fusha just gonna walk away with that one, you know? Not gonna even throw out his ultimate. Very, very, like, it was incredible control about what he wants to do on the map here. He's just buying time for Lee Kai. He's not gonna overreact. 600 gold.
And they just keep generating advantages because they're getting pulled.
Oh, Sivir, we've
across
seen this
the map,
before.
and
It's the Sivir gank coming in. Let's see if Lee Kai can't take this. Oh, it's gonna be a 1v3, but Gory dies in the meantime, and Gory nearly goes down. He flashes it. He gets the grand challenge. He's healing up. He's gonna take the 1v3, and he actually blocks out. Gets another flash out of Unified. Can he do it? Unified on one auto attack, and Lee Kai, he makes the 1v3 play. What an amazing riposte. He kills Gory, turns around the bottom lane, and Beyond Gaming take everything.
that's a 3-4-0 trade for Beyond Gaming, and then they throw the Baron on top of it. They get absolutely everything on this map, Clementon. This game 1 was just a masterclass coming in from BYG, and a lot of changes have to come through from PSG. I don't necessarily hate the draft. The draft itself is fine. The execution was nowhere even close to being fine, though.
Well, the game is going to balloon about to 10k advantage. Beyond Gaming after that one. They kill Bury. They outplay the 1v3 in the bot lane. And then they pick up 2 towers plus the Baron afterwards. So massive swing in their part. And oh boy, oh boy. I need to get myself a replay of that. Please, observers, give us a replay of that 1v3.
I love the fact that we got a split screen, too.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of the picture-in-picture stuff, no, we just get the split screen. That was fantastic.
Here we go.
Actually see the replay. It's of this bot lane fight. Lee Kai gets the parry. It's just too easy against the Gallia, who's very transparent in what he wants to do with his CC. And then, I mean, he just tries to buy time with the heroic entrance, and just enough time. He's got so many levels that the cooldown is low for Lee Kai to get that second riposte off.
Oh, those ripostes were just absolutely chef kisses right there. He does get tagged by the Zenith Blade, but not the stun afterwards, and is able to chase down the damage dealer in Unified right there. Beautiful stuff from Lee Kai. What more could you want? This is the Lee Kai from Machi of old. This is the Lee Kai that gets his starting position over Leon, which has been, you know, a very steady part of Beyond Gaming throughout this year.
Yeah. It's been Lee Kai in the summer split. Didn't see much play during the spring, but now that it's more about these scaling sort of champions, Lee Kai's become much more of a factor, and he is just strong-arming this game himself. He is willing his team over the line, and BYG are also playing to that win condition. They understand that PSG's win condition is this wombo fight, and if PSG don't want to take it, they're free to just take towers, get free gold into this Fiora, and even if they bring 4 people, it might not be enough to kill this man.
Yeah, Lee Kai just took 1,200 damage off the tower with the blade work. That was nasty to say the least here, but we do have a bit of damage being taken here by Kinos. Not going to be able to sustain that one up as easily here. And it looks like PSG are trying to find an angle, maybe go for a fight. Never a team of quitters right here. But it's so hard. Like, what do you do in this situation? Do you go for Fiora first? Or just let Fiora do her thing and go for the rest of the team? It seems like such a tough position.
Definitely catch-22, and if I'm the side of PSG, you have to just throw everything and the kitchen sink onto Lee Kai. You have to get rid of him first. He doesn't have a GA, so he's not going to be able to buy it. Buy extra time with the stasis. You just have to all in and take him out, and that way you're able to reset the map and hopefully then find something for yourself. But now, I mean, it's already a Cloud Soul, so the next dragon will be Elder. And BYG, this is a very well-measured game. Yes, it's definitely a lot slower than what we'd like to see from BYG, but that's sort of how 1-3-1 compositions end up playing out sometimes, because you're just waiting for the 1-3-1 to actually develop.
You want those champions to have all the farm possible. You want them to hit level 18 like Lekai is right now. And Bury gonna get a bit of damage.
Bury's level 13.
Oh boy, yeah, that's I don't fancy the monkey having a fight against the Fiora
Anyone.
right here. You're right. Husha even 3 levels ahead of the Monkey King.
Yeah, he's keeping in pace with Kino, but that's really it. And it's definitely a rough time because you need those levels as the Wukong to be able to have those extra stats, the extra skill points. And now, oh, that's a big zap.
Yeah, throw some damage onto Kaiwing. That's the ultimate stolen by Minji. Take a little while for him to get that cooldown back, but as we have said, he does have the Cloud Soul, so it should be all that long. In the meantime, Lekai just keeping Hanabi busy, and this is not fair. Hanabi cannot hold on to his tower. He even gets hit by the riposte. Instantly bobs into the grand challenge there. And look at the people trying to come in and save this one. Bury goes in, but Hanabi comes out into the fountain. Bury instantly has to go into the Zanias himself. They do have Husha across the wall by himself, but the rest of the team is chasing up afterwards.
Unified.
Oh, they do manage to get a lot of HP bars low, but no deaths on the side. And Beyond Gaming are going to take all 3 inhibitors off the base of PSG now.
Yeah, and the unified threat is sort of looming here.
Kaiwing gets zapped here. Riposte goes through. He has his stasis. This could be the end if he does fall. And down goes the support. Who's already up to full HP. 46 seconds until the support comes back in. Beyond Gaming are going to play this one a little bit safer and go for the Baron instead.
Yeah, there's definitely the possibility of Minji just going for a recall into the teleport straight back into the base, but knowing that Baron was on the table will be the side of BYG securing that objective for themselves, and then most likely utilizing that to finish out the game. Maybe, okay, teleport coming in. They really want to make sure PSG can't get their eyes in towards the Baron, and it looks like they'll just have to settle onto the red buff. Maybe possible game ends, but no, that won't be the case. It will be the reset, and what do you know, in 55 seconds, it's going to be that Elder Dragon. And with this composition of PSG, surely you just throw everything at this Elder Dragon. It's one or the other.
Can they get out of their base?
Man, it is definitely impossible. Mission impossible for PSG.
Lekai coming in. He got his eyes on Hanabi. Hanabi instantly pops his ultimate right there. It doesn't want any part of this fight.
It's only one vital.
Yeah, and that was like a quarter of his HP going down. And Wako also finding some good damage onto Kaiwing here. Looks like Beyond Gaming are going to go for a big push, see what they can get. Knows out the Elder to turn around back into a 700 damage hit. They want all 3 inhibs down before they turn their attention elsewhere on the map, or they could just be eyeing for the finisher. Navi doesn't have the tank stats to fight in the front line anymore. In goes the ultimate. Unified gonna stay alive. He's behind his towers. He's dealing lots of damage. Here comes the ricochets, and in goes Rakan. He gets melted here. A good find by Unified. He expends both his summoners,
kill
but stays
Nexus.
alive, and they're going for the big base right here. Once that falls, it doesn't matter how many people are dead. Lekai's trying to find his angle, going in there. Glory takes a lot of AP. Minji trying to find the backline, and in they start working. Renekton just melts to the damage, and it doesn't matter if they have casualties. They're going to take the base. Beyond Gaming with the dominating game 1 over PSG.
BYG once more flexing the Fiora muscles. They brought it out against CFO, had mixed success, but this time in this game number 1, very important game number 1, they come out swinging with the Fiora blind pick, and it absolutely runs over the game.
Smashing victory for them. We had a lot of questions about PSG because even though we both agree it was a pretty good draft, it wasn't a draft that they actually piloted this split to much success at all. And I think a huge problem was they just weren't able to make Beyond Gaming actually commit to those big objective fights in the early to mid game. We saw, Beyond Gaming able to swap out the Drakes for the Heralds. They actually found the first 2 Drakes also, and it just seemed like there wasn't the coordination necessary to pull this one off.
And this was another concern for the side of PSG is when Gory is on these playmaking champions, if it's not a 1v9 sort of champion, they are going to struggle, and that's what we saw in this game, right? Galio definitely can make plays for his team, but he's not going to be able to 1v9 carry, at least with his damage. A lot of the damage responsibility falls onto Unified, and Sivir can do it, but a lot of the damage responsibility came from the mid lane during the summer split. That's where they found their success. And if they can't get that, ooh, it's going to be a tough and long series.
We also did see the kind of dream engage coming out from the side of PSG. Usually you think about this comp, it's the Wukong, he goes submarine into the middle of the comp. You have Galio coming out of nowhere, just smashing on top. It's like, wait, he doesn't have an anchor point, and Wukong just goes boop and comes out with the Cyclone. And that's how the game should go. You get the first kill, then you snowball with Sivir resets, and that's the picture. But we didn't see any of it. We never saw like Bury actually get a good engage off.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because of how aggressive Husha was always positioned. He was very far in front of everyone else. If you're going to try and engage past him, that's impossible. You had to account for Husha, and unfortunately, their composition was just too low damage early on that they couldn't actually threaten a Warmog's Sejuani. And Sejuani just really did whatever she wanted to do. And if it wasn't for the fact that we went to 40 minutes and the Fiora did come online, for sure MVP would go to Husha.
I have to agree with you. It was so fun watching Husha just pester PSG. They go into the jungle, she oinks you with her nose, with her snout a little bit, and then she heals up all the HP, and suddenly PSG can't fight in the big game. So it was a really fun build to watch all of that happening. I do want to ask you, do you think PSG are going to pivot away from this composition, or do you think they're going to perhaps stick to their guns here? I don't know, but what's your opinion on that?
I would like them to start pivoting their composition, but we've seen stranger things, right? And teams, if you look over in NA, right, EG started picking a lot of compositions that they weren't super comfortable with, at least coming in from the regular split. So that might just be one of those trends where you're not finding the same success, and all of a sudden you're just trying to do a 180 to at least figure some sort of thing out. Unfortunately, in this particular game, it was just really weak.
Yeah, you look at this, Bury actually only gets his Cyclone onto Husha, which really isn't enough, and then Hanabi stuns Minji that flies back in. So the engage just looks so incredibly scuffed from the side of PSG. There's really no coordination. You want to build like a burger, you have to stack everything together, and then Wako comes in with the heroics and just says, I'm not having any of your burger. I want like pho for dinner, and just throws everything that PSG presented away right there. I just didn't see the it feels really bad when you watch these Wombo combo comps and you don't see them actually build a burger. It's like they put the bun inside the lettuce, and then it's all soggy with the tomato, and you open it up and there's no beef and everything. It's just it really wasn't a Wombo.
It was very disappointing. Yeah. Most certainly not a burger or a sandwich that PSG should have been building in this instance. And once more, it does show the indecisiveness, and especially when Gory isn't on champions like the Azir, where he's able to dictate the game. He's not going to get the Azir the entire series. Let's be real here. So they need to find different answers. They need a way for Gory to get involved in the game, but also be able to have these big carry moments, because in this particular game, Galio would never have those big carry moments.
So I do want to ask you about this. What do you think is Gory's third champion if he's denied the Azir and the Silas?
I almost want them to just force the Akali, because even though it's really difficult in this current meta, you have to. They just look way too out of sorts if he's not on a champion that can make plays by himself.
He needs to be on a damage dealing champion for sure, and one that actually goes in. Like he needs some playmaking aspect to that as well. So
yeah.
I agree with you. Akali seems to be the one here. I really don't mind the Talia. I feel like Talia, even late game builds are pretty strong, but I guess you just
and we did see him on the Talia a number of times in the CFO series, and he did do well. It was just towards these late game team fights, he can't kill everyone. That was the issue, unfortunately. And I think that's the problem PSG have, is just that you see the damage charts. Yes, Unified is doing a ton of damage, but how much of the damage was on Husha? Like, if we could bring a damage dealt, like how much damage Husha was soaking up and just regenning off of Warmogs, I feel like 20k of that was on him.
He got a lot of bacon, but he didn't really get a good balanced diet right there. It was pure piggy meat. Unfortunate for PSG here. Yeah, he might have died of cholesterol. We take a look at the gold graph. Really smooth picture here. And Lekai is going to win our MVP. Well deserved with that 1v3. 34% of the team's damage and a 5,000 gold lead over her.
Yeah, this Fiora, once she came online, they had no answers for her. And they, the side of PSG, thought that they could allow it through, right? We have the Renekton, and they showed a Sejuani. Surely they throw the Sejuani into the Renekton matchup and just neutralize it. But no, it ends up being BYG locking in the Fiora, and the Fiora pays off massive, massive value.
Congratulations to Beyond Gaming for securing the first game, but don't go anywhere because we've got a long series ahead of us.